one more on Juneteenth. Does the president plan to commemorate the holiday today or make any comment on it?
I'm not tracking his signature on a proclamation today. I know this is a federal holiday. I want to thank all of you for showing up to work. We are certainly here. We're working 24/7 right now. Nikki, go ahead.
Actually, that was my question. Will you plan to mark Juneteenth in any way, either today or with an event later on, maybe next week?
Sure. I just answered that question for you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
I want to talk more about celebrations because Americans did just come together to celebrate Juneteenth, okay? Federal holiday marks the end of slavery. Some cities scaled back, frankly, canceled celebrations this year with an eye on the Trump administration's DEI rollbacks. And notably, of course, the president did not sign a proclamation this year observing the holiday. Instead, he took to social media posting, "Too many non-working holidays in America. It's costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed."
Has the White House had their Juneteenth celebration? Did it happen? Is it going to happen?
We have 11 federal holidays. And by the way, the workers are fine. They're getting paid time and a half. You don't want the holiday. This holiday specifically.
We have way too many holidays. We got President's Day, that can go, but maybe that's what he's talking about. Let's just see.
Trump's comments in regards to holidays and saying that he wants to have less non-working holidays, talking about America loses out on billions of dollars, jobs aren't happy about it. What jobs aren't happy about it? Everyone deserves to be off. If these are the holidays y'all give a fuck about, you get what I'm saying? Everyone's deserves to be off. People are working their asses off, and he's sitting here complaining about a non-working holiday, saying that he feels as though people should be working on these holidays. Juneteenth is a very, very, very important holiday that should have been mentioned. It should have been celebrated.
Donald Trump just attacked Juneteenth, which is today, in a new social media post. He just manages to continue to get worse. I don't even know how that's possible. We're already at rock bottom.
Okay.
Black Twitter is not having it. Black social media is like, you can,
no. As is said, heavy Negro spiritual side. What do we make of America's short-lived awakening and reckoning? So short that already Juneteenth.
Well, President Trump signed this into law in 2020. Let's remember that.
Oh, does he remember that? This is what we're talking about.
I don't know. And it's
flashback.
So, first one.
One of the greatest honors of his presidency. Those are the words from President Biden as he signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law, making June 19th a federal holiday.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about liberals and Democrats being upset with President Trump for some comments that he made seemingly about Juneteenth, right? In which he talked about how we have too many non-working holidays. You know, Juneteenth is one of those holidays where it's just like, okay, well, it's a holiday because of the fact that the country was going through the George Floydification of this country. And again, I think that making Juneteenth a holiday probably was not a great idea, right? There's a lot of people who've lost their lives on Juneteenth because it seems as if people can't celebrate this holiday without there being a lot of chaos, right? In which, you know, we'll see what happens this weekend. I think luckily Juneteenth fell on a Thursday, okay? But again, I believe that the Juneteenth parties are going to start this weekend, right? So we'll see if we get any mass shootings. Hopefully not, right? I'm hoping that this is the year that, you know, black folks can celebrate Juneteenth without any type of, you know, major mass shootings or anything like that, right? So again, that's the real reason why I think that you have some of these Juneteenth celebrations being rolled back, okay? But instead, the activists are essentially blaming Trump. They're saying that cities are canceling their Juneteenth celebrations because of Trump and the DEI rollback. Take a look.
Today, many communities across the country are recognizing Juneteenth, but some celebrations are being scaled back or canceled altogether.
That's right. So Lee Waldman is in New York with a look at why we are seeing a change this year.
In the trying political times we have in the United States today, right, it's important for all of us to understand that history.
The city of Milwaukee, home to one of the nation's longest running Juneteenth Day celebrations, kicked off its festivities Wednesday.
Happy Juneteenth!
Juneteenth shows us the way that we should celebrate
that we should celebrate freedom.
However, communities across the country are canceling or reducing their celebrations because of federal rollbacks on DEI practices and opposition to events celebrating diversity. Robert Bland, an assistant professor of history and Africana studies at the University of Tennessee, says these types of decisions are a part of our nation's history of progressing forward and then taking steps backward.
Obviously, this is deeply connected to our current political moment, and we kind of see the reversal in a number of ways of the gains that kind of came out of the George Floyd protest.
In West Virginia, Republican Governor Patrick Morrisey says state employees will not have a paid day off for the federal holiday, citing financial reasons. In a statement, the American Civil Liberties Union of West Virginia says Morrisey's decision is, quote, just another opportunity to show how little he understands or cares about racism.
Sometimes it is 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, but then you continue the struggle. You continue fighting for history, fighting for rights, fighting for justice for everybody.
But anyways, so again, you know, the president made that comment, and now liberals and Biden as well too, right? Apparently Biden, they're really upset with the comments, right? They're basically accusing the GOP Republicans of trying to erase history, right? You know, it's the same old talking points that they always use against Republicans, basically trying to say, well, this is racism. This is racism because, you know, Democrats want to celebrate the end of slavery while at the same time being the party of slavery. Take a look.
Because our federal holidays say a lot about who we are as Americans. That's right. What we celebrate says what we value. And now we have a national holiday dedicated to the emancipation of black enslaved people. I used to chair the African Affairs Subcommittee. I've been through all of Africa. I used to be there for a long, long time. Africa. I've been to the origins of where slavery started. But we all remember the moral stain of slavery. I've often called it America's original sin. Oh, it was America's original sin, God forbid. Well, I took the view as president, we need to be honest about our history. Especially in the face of ongoing effort to erase our history. Not just here, but this guy. Too many people are trying to erase our history, especially in the face of ongoing efforts to erase history from our textbooks and our classrooms. I played a role in changing names of all those military camps that have slave names. What are we doing now? Restating those names. Quote, darkness can hide much, but can erase nothing. Can erase nothing. And only with truth.
Yeah, so again, I find it to be fascinating how Democrats always want to talk about slavery and how they're against slavery, but at the same time, these are the same people who are currently fighting for modern slavery, right? This is what they're fighting for when they're talking about having the illegal immigrants stay in the country, right? So that they can pick the cotton, right? Every time you look, these people are saying, well, who's going to pick our cotton? Who's going to wipe our asses, right? Who's going to pick the strawberries? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Okay, these people love slave labor, but yet they claim to be against slavery. Against it's the same Democrat Party that was the party of slavery. Don't let the Democrats fool you, okay? If we are going to celebrate Juneteenth, we should be celebrating Republicans fighting to end slavery, right? The victory that the Union achieved against the Democrats, the defeat of the pro-slavery Democrats who still to this day are fighting tooth and nail for more slavery, right? It's just funny how that works. So with that being said, it's not just Juneteenth that is being rolled back, right? In regards to the celebrations, the events, you also have Pride, right? Pride is also facing defunding, right? They're facing cuts. And again, all of this, I think, is coming as USAID got defunded, right? So I don't think it's a coincidence that the Democrat Party's going broke. Juneteenth, they're facing some issues with funding. And also on top of that, Pride, they're facing issues with funding as well, too. I don't think all of this is a coincidence, right? That this is happening, okay? Again, once the government basically roll back heavily on USAID. All these woke groups are now struggling financially, right? They're now struggling. I don't think that, again, this is a coincidence. So without further ado, let's get into the woke activists boo-hooing and crying about Pride events being defunded by corporate America.
This year, St. Louis Pride is not brought to you by Anheuser-Busch. Despite sponsoring the event for more than 30 years, the brewing company backing out of Pride Fest 2025 after Bud Light became a poster brand for Pride backlash 2 years ago.
Bud Light.
Instead, a smaller brewery bubbling up in what's becoming a more common story all around the U.S.
Our values don't change based on the political climate or based on who's in office. We want to do the right thing.
NBC News did not receive a response from Anheuser-Busch when we reached out for comment. But the company is not alone. Across the country, dozens of companies are stopping their funding of DEI initiatives and events, including NBC parent company Comcast, which did not renew its sponsorship of San Francisco Pride. Comcast declining to comment on SF Pride, but a spokesperson told us in April it was sponsoring other Pride events in California this year. NYC Pride, the largest in the country, also saying it has a budget shortfall of $750,000 due to a dip in corporate sponsors. Back in St. Louis, Pride organizer Marty Zuniga telling us earlier this month there's been a shift in the type of support they're getting.
We partner with these people year round, and so when those phone calls weren't getting answered or returned as quickly and those emails went unread, it was scary.
He says the event had a $150,000 funding gap, so it turned to its community for support.
We had to reach out and start a grassroots campaign.
And the response? Overwhelmingly successful, thanks to first-time local sponsors like Four Hands Brewing.
People are just grateful that we're able to step in, and we can't fill the full shortfall of the marketing budget or the event budget for Pride St. Louis, but we're doing what we can.
And now it's not just Pride events taking a hit. Denver's Juneteenth Music Festival held over the weekend, normally a 2-day event, but this year scaled back to 1 after it says more than a dozen companies pulled support. Do you know how much funding you had this year compared to years past?
At least 40% drop from in terms of corporate partners.
But despite that,
it was incredible.
Organizers saying the community stepped up.
We had over 200 individuals who made donations. We're so thankful for those people who helped push us and help us get there.
Does it mean something different to get money from an individual instead of, say, a corporation?
I think it does. It really just helps define that the Juneteenth celebration that we host here in Denver is really kind of powered by the people.
The people banding together to fill the gap left behind by major corporations.
Yeah, so Stephen, they're making up some of the funding with community support here. Is it enough when you've got a big sponsor pulling back?
Yeah, it depends on what you mean by enough, Tom. They have not made up that funding gap, that is for sure. NYC Pride, for example, has raised about $25,000 since raising the alarm on this shortfall, but they're still down more than $700,000. But something we have heard from these organizers is that this is a celebration of getting back to what these events used to be about, which is about the community. Yes, they have scaled back in many cases, but something else we've heard from them is they're not going to stop celebrating the diversity that they were once made to feel ashamed of. Tom?
We thank you. Yeah, so you see, there you heard that. Okay. Corporate America is saying, nah, we don't want to be associated with this anymore, right? We don't want to be associated with racial division, which, I mean, let's be real. Juneteenth, again, you're talking about a holiday that's being framed as Black Independence Day, right? Basically an Independence Day for Black people, when everybody should be celebrating the Independence Day of the country in general, right? We should have separate Independence Days for people based off race. I think that's pretty silly. Again, it's very divisive. Corporate America says, you know what, we don't want to be associated with this anymore. Same thing with Pride. Hey, we don't want to be associated with this anymore. It is what it is, right? When these companies were on board with the woke train, they thought they could make money off of it. Clearly they can't, right? And this is why they're pulling back, because this stuff was never profitable, right? It was never profitable. They were doing it because, again, they thought that it could maybe be profitable. Again, post George Floyd, and you're seeing a lot of that stuff being rolled back, right? A lot of companies are stepping away and saying, we're good on this. We don't want to be associated with this stuff. And the reason why is because a lot of this stuff is toxic, right? It's divisive. And, it's just not good for the country, right? It's not good for the country to have a whole month where, we celebrate our differences, right? Instead, we should be celebrating what we all have in common, okay? What makes us the same, right? And I think that's the direction that this country should move in, right? Let's stop celebrating what makes us different and let's start celebrating what makes us the same, right? What makes us all similar, what we have in common. And I think that is how America should move forward, right? And, I think that's kind of what we're seeing. We're seeing the country kind of go in that direction and corporate America refusing to support these events, whether that be, the Pride events or the Juneteenth events. I think it really shows you the direction that the country is headed in. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.